Hello everyone. Welcome to Laurie's Little Studio. Today we are going to be working on a vintage pattern. It's Vogue V2082 View A. I have also ordered some hip stiffener, which is basically just really stiff tulle. And these are the instructions. I will not be making the bolero. So I've already cut out the pattern pieces. I need to tidy up the edges and consider if I'm going to make any changes. I knew that we needed hip stiffener, but I did not know what type of fabric to use. So I looked at my pattern instructions and it tells you it is net. Okay, and then I need to also get some lining fabric. So I got my pattern pieces pressed. This is the cutting layout that I'm going to use, and I will have to take everything off of my table so that I can get my fabric folded. So there's a fold and there's the selvage, pretty much just exactly the way you purchase it off the bolt. And I could probably use this layout. We purchased extra fabric, so I'm pretty sure this will work. I think I have enough fabric here. And it's just simply shifting these small pieces. As you can see, you've got them all in here. But if you've got less fabric and more width, then you can use the fold to cut these out. And then you need two of this piece right there. So, and this is this I can do this. This is the shoulder strap right here, piece number 6. So, as long as you can fit that on the straight grain, everything is good. All right, piece 7, which is the skirt back, is placed on the fabric facing up. And this line right here should be closer to the fold. So you can tell that this is the waistband because it is shaped a little bit. It's not a complete rectangle, so there's like this little curve where the waistband curves in, and then there's this little dip right here where we're going to be making those pleats. They're not really pleats, they're gathers. So I'm just going to place it face up, whereas piece 8 was face down. And it doesn't have to be on the fold because we are supposed to cut 2 of piece 7. I've got all the pieces cut out. It is piece 3, piece 4, piece 5, piece 6, piece 7, and piece 8. So today is Saturday, the day before Easter Sunday, and I have got to hem a shirt that I bought for myself that is just miles too long. I hope everyone had a happy Easter. I did. My daughter Candice and her husband Rob came over and we dyed Easter eggs and all the stuff. And then we discovered that the mallard who lives in the secret pond, we have 2 bodies of water in the front yard. We've got secret pond, which is over here and behind a whole bunch of trees. And then it kind of goes under a little land bridge that I can drive over on the golf cart. And then in the front, on the other side, there's kind of a creek. But when it rains, the creek widens out a little bit. And Mama Duck had, there were at least 10, there could have been more, little baby ducks, and they were swimming in the little pond in the front. It hadn't rained in a while. That was not as wide as it can get sometimes, but that was such a joy to see those little baby ducklings. Oh my goodness. All right, the hip stiffener, as it's called in the pattern, is complete. I think I'm going to make another one, and I'm going to use apparel Velcro because hooks and eyes have to be pretty precise, and if you gain or lose even a small amount of weight, it can affect how this fits. But if you've got little Velcro, like those little dots, I know you've seen them. I've got some in this room somewhere, but so anyway, you can put the Velcro dot, and then the matching Velcro dot can go anywhere on the surface of this dot, and you can either make it a little bit tighter or make it a little bit looser. And I think that's a little bit better idea than the hooks and eyes. But I do realize that this is a vintage pattern, and the idea of using apparel Velcro was probably not an option at that time. Okay, now I've got my lining fabric. I ordered 100% cotton batiste to line the bodice with. So I need to cut out the lining pattern pieces, and then we will begin to stitch. So our first instruction is to make the dart on the bodice back. So here's the bodice back, and I need to make the dart on the fabric of the bodice back. I'm not going to make the dart on the lining yet. I'm not going to mark everything. I'm just going to mark the piece I'm working on. So if it decides to air erase, it will not have time to disappear on me. And I'm also going to mark the dart. This is the wrong side of the fabric. I can tell that it is, but I don't know if that's translating on camera. This is the dull side, and this is the shiny outside. All right, so that's how I mark my darts. I just stick pins so that they all go through the same place on the dots. Ooh, I gotta change my thread. Now I'm going to do a series of tests on this scrap fabric to make sure that my settings are where I want them to be. Okay, there's the zigzag, front and back. That looks pretty good. Alright, this is a teeny buttonhole, but it looks good. The stitches are even. It looks good on the back and the front. I've got to remember to pull that bobbin thread out. And then you just use your seam ripper and a pin. So you insert the pin like so, and then just cut open your buttonhole. And the pin keeps you from going through that end down there. I can go back to one. The needle is in the down position, and I'm going to stitch this dart with a different foot. And remember, on a dart, you don't want to, probably should pull some more thread through. You don't want to back stitch to lock the top of your dart. You need to tie the threads, so that'll give you a cleaner finish at that point. Okay, I don't have enough bobbin thread, so I'm going to actually thread this needle thread that I've got here onto a needle. and then I'll cut it. That dart right there. So, and I don't believe you cut these darts. They have not ever mentioned cutting. So, all right, this is the first piece. So right out the gate, I stitched the dart on the wrong side of the fabric. So I had to take those stitches out and re-stitch it. And this is the right side of the fabric. And with a solid color fabric, you do run that risk. So now I'm going to be especially careful because, as you can see, I think this looks a little bit darker than this. This is the wrong side and it's a matte finish. This is the right side and it's a shiny finish. So this is the right side of this fabric. And so I know that I need to stitch it with my darts on the inside like so. And before I go feed my chickens, I'm going to go ahead and do this one because I don't want to come back to it and be confused. And then I need to mark my notches just on the fabric, not the lining, because it is air erase ink and they'll just disappear and then I'll forget about them. So these last few weeks I've been so scatterbrained. Moving can do that to you. Oh, wait, okay. Let's get rid of the lining. We'll set it over here. And I know which piece goes with which. If they're very similar, you can just write piece 4 or just a number 4 on each of these, and that way you'll remember. And a dot, and then flip it over and do the exact same thing. But I do have to turn my pattern piece this direction. Dot, dot, and dot. And this is the correct side. So I'm going to mark them on the wrong side. Okay, so you take your front piece, this is right side up, and then you take the right side of one of the side pieces, so you've got them facing together, and this curve that's facing out will match up with this curve that's sort of slightly concave. And I'm going to pin these together. Looks like it's not, you know, in your head you're thinking that is not going to match up. But often when you're sewing women's clothes, you will run into this type of seam. So it's a good idea to practice. And if you don't know for sure if you're going to be able to do this, which I know you can, but it is a little intimidating, just take some scrap fabric, or if you have an old sheet, cut it into pieces, cut out your pattern, and just use a basting stitch so that you can pull it out and do it again. Pull it out, do it again until you get proficient enough for your sewing. And then as you're going around this curve, make sure that your fabric doesn't, you know, do this. You don't want it to be folded like that. So you just have to kind of keep checking and feeling with your fingers. And there's that princess seam. And this right here just needs to be clipped. So, and then this is also a curve It's going the opposite direction, which can still be clipped in this manner. Some people, when you're clipping this type of a curve, they will cut out a section like that. I just prefer to leave it. I'm going to go press this, and I'll be right back. To help you along, piece number 3 attaches to this bodice on this side because this says center back opening. So you know that's going to be on the outside of this. In other words, it's not going to be stitched like this. It will be stitched like this. Now, however, when you get to this side, it will be stitched like that. So you've got to find your pieces. So we're going to do kind of the same thing where we're going to match up the 2 notches. We're going to stitch this here along the side. So front, sides, and back. Ooh, stitch lining to the bodice, yes. So let me get these taken care of and I'll be right back. I've been editing another video, but I wanted to point out a couple things. Number one, Candice, for whom I'm making this dress, came over this past Saturday. Today is Wednesday, and we fitted this to her. It fits beautifully. It's been like 3 days of editing, and now I'm back in here to sew, and I've decided I'm going to clip the 2 pieces together because, you know, we're supposed to pin it according to the instructions and stitch across the top. So my plan is to clip rather than pin. So I thought I would mention that if you're using a satin, something that you might not want to leave pin marks on, you can definitely use clips. And the one thing I really like about clips is they don't slip. Occasionally pins will. And you might notice I started by clipping the 2, this is the front piece, and I clipped these 2 seams together first, and I'm just kind of working over to this, and then now I'm going to work over to this, and then go the rest of the way on both. By this I mean this seam, and then I'll go back and finish clipping that side. We are supposed to baste the raw edges together, so the side seams in the back, well, they're not side seams, these seams right here along the back edge on both sides are supposed to be basted, and then we are supposed to, the next step is to fold the shoulder strap in half, right sides together, and stitch 1/4 inch from the fold, and then trim the seam so that you've just got a real small little narrow seam, and then we're supposed to turn them. And I think I know how I'm going to do that. I was going to use pink. I have like 3 balls of this Studio Sam. I forgot I had a tool. So there's the first one, and I'll do the second one off camera. I don't think you should have to watch me do that struggle again, but I've got some scraps of fabric over here I can use to cut another one. This little tool sure did come in handy. I know I got it on Amazon eons ago, but I'll try to find another one and link it in the description box below this video. Okay, so I've got the straps made. I did press them, and I think that was a good idea. Then we're supposed to pin our shoulder strap to our bodice piece at the top, matching the arrows at the back and the squares at the front, and sew to the lining, turning in the ends. All right, I've just pinned the straps on until Candice can try it on and I can get these perfectly matched up. But I am going to hang the bodice up on a coat hanger, and that will be while I'm working on the skirt portion, which is next. It says right here in small print that skirt lining is optional. It tells you if you are going to use lining to go ahead and baste it to the wrong side of the skirt backs and the skirt front. I'm looking at step 10 where it says stitch skirt backs at center back below the V. So I need to see if I marked that V. So I'm going to put the right sides of the skirt together. So this is a right side and this is a right side. And I'm going to stitch from the bottom up to this mark right here. So this is a back side and this is a back side. Obviously this is the right side and this is the left side. If I were to flip it over and it were on the right side of the fabric. So there's that. And then next they want us to stitch the back to the front at the sides. I have yet to mark this, so I need to do that real quick. The front and the back have been attached to each other at the side seams, and the back seam has been stitched. So the next thing I need to do is press. I'll probably clip some of these, but I'm going to be using my pinking shears because this fabric is very prone to fraying, and the fraying is literally, I mean, if it frayed, it would take the entire dress down. It would just collapse. So it needs to be pinked. All the seams need to be pinked, which they are, but now that I've got them stitched at 5/8, I want to trim that down just a bit and get this pressed. However, it'll have to wait until tomorrow because it's gotten late. And in that case, this will be done tomorrow, and I will show you what we're doing next. We are back with the skirt, and I realized last night after I went to bed that all of my marks were going to be gone today due to the pen, which is an air erase pen. So I've got to remark my skirt with all those markings again. Okay, pleat skirt at top, crease on small O's and bring to meet large O's. Baste. Okay, and I will baste. Once I need to turn it over. Once I have the top edges even, I will clip. Okay. And cut your threads. Well, I've got a story. All day yesterday and today I have been walking by this brown, like it looked like a little blob of brown thread on the floor over there. And all day yesterday I kept thinking, oh, I've got to get that picked up. So just now, when I was walking over there to get the bodice that I had hanging up, because I'm so blind, I looked down, I kind of, bent down and looked at it. It was a dead spider, a poisonous dead spider. Oh my gosh. So now I have a really good reason for moving. I've got the bodice here. Now I have talked to Candice cinch yesterday, and I told her that I had pinned the straps to the bodice, but I wasn't going to do anything else because I wanted to make sure that the shoulder straps are in the right place. Okay, so the next step, stitch skirt to bodice, adjusting gathers. You have to make sure that the pleats aren't gathered up inside of your big skirt bodice sandwich. So as you're pinning, just check to make sure that those pleats are still lying flat. Like here's one right here. So it's flat on this side and it is sandwiched in there so that it will lie flat when I have stitched it across the waistband. Okay, I'm going to turn it to the right side just so I can look for any issues. All right, and here it is. So I don't see any problems with my pleats. I'm a little concerned with this right here because it's a little bit more gathered on this side than it is on this side, so I'll have to kind of redistribute that a little bit. My side seam and my side seam of my bodice are matched up. I don't know if you can see. So here's the bodice and here's the skirt. Then we'll be inserting the zipper. So I've ironed my zipper. I might have to do a little bit more pressing, but at least it's not wrinkled from packaging. It had where the staples were. There were some wrinkles down on the body of the zipper. That's been taken care of. I've got my zipper prepared, like I said yesterday, and now I'm going to stitch the bodice to the skirt. Now it's time to look at the other side. Do not pull out any of your basting threads until you do that. And if you see any gathers that have been folded over on top of each other, you'll need to remove that section of stitching and do it again. And it will be a little hard to look at, I mean literally on your eyes with the gathering stitches in there, but just get through it. Okay, everything looks good. Now I'm just going to kind of steam these two pieces right here along the waist. And I did forget that Candice needs to try this on for me. She was going to come tomorrow here, and we are, as I said earlier, going to their house. So I'll take this with me and have her try it on, and then I'll know where the shoulder straps need to go and if there need to be any adjustments made. Because before I continue stitching it together, especially putting a zipper in, I want to know how it fits her. When we visited Candice and her husband Rob on Saturday, I was correct in the placement of the straps. They do follow in the front, right in the middle of this seam on both sides. And I've got these pinned in the back in the correct place. And then I also measured for the zipper. She decided that she would like a self fabric bow on this particular dress. So because I have enough fabric, I'm going to try to cut out, I think it says to use, right, it says to use ribbon. And we talked about using ribbon, and she just decided she felt like she wanted one cohesive look. And I did mark where I need to move it down. So I'll be stitching it at that red, I mean not down on here, but shortening this strap. That's what I love about these needles. They're so sharp. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm using my regular zipper foot, not my invisible zipper foot. I'm not using this. I'm using just a regular zipper foot that looks like this. I'll get my ring turned around so you can see it. So this is what the zipper foot looks like. I'm ready to hem this evening gown, and I just marked my hem on the wrong side, and I'm not going to press this hem until it's completed. I'm probably going to fold up and then fold up to the line that I've marked. I'm finished with the hem. I think it looks nice, and once Candice tries this on and we make sure that everything is good, I'll go ahead and give it a press. Candice wants me to make a belt for this dress out of this fabric. I think you can see it's got it looks like a green belt here, and it's made from ribbon, but I'm just going to go ahead, and I've got lots of leftover fabric. I'm going to cut and turn and stitch, and then I'm going to add some buttons. So I'm going to press it so that the seam is on the back side and the front side is seamless. It's been pressed, and now I'm going to close off the ends. Probably tomorrow morning I will try to make a bow that she can also wear over the top of this if she wants to just tie a bow here, which is the way this one is shown. Alright guys, I'm gonna go see if there's anything I can do to help with the getting the house ready before we move process.